When I had a passion for what I was doing and realized that I think I had something that I could replicate, and I've always been a natural leader, whether it was sports in high school, and I wanted to help other people try to do the same thing that I was.
Reiterating, building quality relationships with quality people and growing together. Yep. And that's, it's been the way that I've built my business. It's been the way that I've branded this podcast. Because again, the reach behind the podcast is to help other business owners and small individuals that are, looking to share their value, give them a platform, right?
When I get somebody again that trusts me enough to come work with me, it is my obligation to do everything I can to make sure it works.
Yep.
And I feel it's not like, hey, they come over here, it's 100% on them. If it doesn't work out, I genuinely care.
People are seeing the joy we have, and I can't joyfully do this podcast or joyfully do any of our social media content for that matter if it's just about home loans. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Brady Haye Mortgage Team podcast, where we're focused on building quality relationships with quality people and growing together. Pleased to be joined by one of my mentors, advisors, whatever your title you want to give yourself, but the Vice President of Mortgage Lending, I think is your more proper term. Ladies and gentlemen, John Cornish.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brady.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not big on titles, so.
That's all right. It's self-proclaimed, right? It's whatever you earn. But
absolutely.
No, excited to have you here today. Obviously,
part of it.
Call it 7.5 years by now. I've been privileged and had the ability to learn from you and, kind of work underneath and alongside you. And I'm excited to have you share a little bit about what you do, how you do it, what your passions are. And really the heart behind the podcast, just for context for you, is to give people a platform to share who they are and what they do.
Perfect. I love it. Let's dig in, man.
That's
it's been fun. 7.5 years. Huh?
Isn't that crazy?
It's wild.
That's kind of one of the main things I want to start off is share first off your journey into mortgage lending, kind of how that all got started. And then I'd also love to hear your perspective on what you remember about me starting with the company and just kind of what that looked like as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't have any plans of getting into the financial services industries. I actually went to school for 2.5 years for pre-med, found out that wasn't the journey I was going to go on. And actually I wanted to get into pharmaceutical sales because I had all the science background with 2.5 years of pre-med, personality for sales. My dad's been in sales. My advisor said I'd be good in sales. So that made sense. That was the fit. Won't bore you with the details, but because of a driving record and too many speeding tickets, I couldn't get a job in that industry. And I reached out to a buddy at Wells Fargo Financial because they were hiring and I needed a job. I was out of college. I needed to start making some money. And I fell in love with it pretty quick. I've always been good with numbers. Math always came easily. I'm very competitive. I love people. Sales was natural for me. So I fell in love with it very, very quickly. And I don't know exactly, when it happened, but I really enjoyed working with people. I like the ability to have control over my income and have a bonus potential. It made it fun. I enjoyed what I did. So I worked with Wells Fargo Financial for a while, and we offered everything from small credit cards, second mortgages, debt consolidations. I enjoyed finding solutions for people. I enjoyed helping them improve their financial outlook or their, what they were doing, putting them in a better situation. Yeah. And that led into opportunities where people started recruiting me in the mortgage industry. So I got out of the Wells Fargo Financial into mortgage lending, worked in the banking industry for quite a few years, we'll say 8 years, and kind of got to the point where I had reached my potential there, and there were things that I wanted to do and beliefs that I had, and I felt like I was handcuffed. And I wanted to take the next step. I always wanted to. I'm from the Des Moines area. I always wanted to open an office here, and we just didn't see eye to eye. So I bet on myself and opened up an office of Pearl Mortgage in Davenport with a good friend, Andy Stewart, and went into the independent mortgage banking. And loved it there. And that's when I got the opportunity to meet you. We opened the office in Des Moines, had a lot of fun, and really just tried to help people. When I had a passion for what I was doing and realized that I think I had something that I could replicate. And I've always been a natural leader, whether it was sports in high school. And I wanted to help other people try to do the same thing that I was. And the whole goal was help them do it quicker and less painful. And I use the analogy with you guys all the time. Hey, listen, I burnt my hand on the stove 5 times. Hopefully you don't have to burn your hand, or you only have to do it 1 time. And that's what it led to. And honestly, I had plans of being at Pearl Mortgage longer. I bled orange. I believed in it. We pushed that brand because I was nervous about opening up a mortgage company in the Quad Cities because it really wasn't done then. I mean, it wasn't the norm. So unfortunately, we had some plans with Pearl Mortgage. We'll just say that they didn't work out. No need to get into the details. The owners ended up selling the company out from under us. and we didn't believe in where they were going.
Yeah.
There's a certain things that were really important to us. And we didn't feel like the new place that they were going was going to give us the ability to support our employees, support our customers, support our agents. So we decided to bet on ourselves.
Yeah.
And this was a very short time period. So, this was not something that we planned. I think we had like 6 weeks, not even that, maybe 4 weeks to make the decision.
I remember it being a weekend.
I was very quick. And I think I knew about it probably 10 days before I told you guys.
Know. Yeah.
Obviously there's certain things we can and cannot share. And I remember actually the conversation with Andy, we were going to wait another week. And I said, listen, dude, the recruiters know about this. They're calling on my people. I got to have a meeting today and we got to get out in front of this. So I'd like to say that I was smart enough to come up with the key mortgage thing. And that was a plan. To be perfectly honest with you, it was out of defense and fear. And here's why. I'm a lot of things, but one thing that I feel that I really am is very genuine and honest. Mm-hmm. And when I told you guys I love Pro Mortgage and I believed in it when I got you to come work with us and we started working together, I meant that. Mm-hmm. So to tell you 3 weeks later that I thought something else that I didn't even know about was going to be the end all be all, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Right.
It wouldn't be very genuine. I didn't know. I hadn't worked there. I'd only started talking to Homeside Financial a couple weeks before that time period. So I was honest with myself and I was honest with you guys that, listen, what I believe in is I believe in what we're doing as individuals. I truly believe in that and I still do. And we also wanted to test our partners at Homeside because they were very big on, and one of the things that we really liked is we want you guys to be here because you want to be here, not because you're contractually obligated. And if you have your own brand, it is much easier to pick up and move that brand because you don't have to rebrand. Yep. I hated having to rebrand Pearl to Key Mortgage Group. And I decided that, listen, I don't want to do this again. Right. So we all talked together as a group and we actually, you remember this, we came up with our own name. It wasn't just me. It was multiple people. Yep. And we wanted to create something that we could focus on what was important to us. Yep. Executing for our partners, our realtors, our builders, our referral partners, executing for our customers, me being able to support the people that trust me to jump into this career and do this with me. And even though I'm extremely happy with Homeside Financial, it's the same belief now that if for some reason they are not the best partner to allow us to execute, we can pick up Key Mortgage Group and go somewhere else. Yep. We can really focus on what we believe in. That wasn't planned. I'd love to take the credit for that. It was a defense mechanism. It worked out really well. And now that's something that we try to replicate when we go into other markets is teaching people to do the same thing. Listen, don't use Key Mortgage Group. Create a brand that's yours. Right. Come work with us. We believe in what we're doing, but you need to be who you are. And again, and I think you would admit this, when we done the training with the loan officers, yourself included, I'm teaching you how or my intent is to teach you how to grow a business that is yours. Yep. That you can pick up and go somewhere else very easily. Exactly. It's my job to provide you with enough value to where you want to stay.
Make sure that I don't want to go. Yeah.
Correct. And that's how I look at it. It's very simple because I want you to be here because you want to be, not because you feel like it's too hard to leave.
Absolutely. No, and I think that's, again, if there's something we can make sure that our clients know about our brand, the way that we've started that is again, we want you to work with us because of who we are, not necessarily because of the company we work for or the products we offer, anything like that. Obviously, we'll do our due diligence and make sure the company we work for does provide good loan options, right? But that's kind of more back end stuff. And really what makes us different is who we are as individuals, the way we treat our clients, the partners, everything. You see, you hit the nail on the head there.
Yep. So I think we could pick what we have up and move it multiple places, and it really wouldn't make that much of a difference.
And the beauty of it is we don't have to, right? Like we are very happy where we're at,
because of the people.
Exactly. And that's what makes us different. And honestly, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that frankly our clients and partners never get to see, right? I think of Lance as a prime example. Lance is one of the most valuable people in our company, in my opinion, just because of the way that he adds value to me and helping me execute files and making sure that it goes smoothly. And the reality is, like, my clients and partners probably don't even know that his value is even a part of it, right? Correct. Like, it's just an extension of us, but that's just one example of the things that we're doing. Our Monday sales call is another example where we're continually sharing nuances and things that we can do as leaders and sales operations people that, we're all trying to be better together, right? Like, it's not
continual growth mindset.
Yeah. And it's not something where we're competing against each other. We really are, helping to share ideas and things that we can do to all succeed and make a bigger impact. Right. And I think that's honestly, there's two things that I remember specifically about when I first connected with you. And I don't remember if you remember this conversation at all, but I'll never forget.
I remember where I was driving. I was driving in between Ben Yeagy's office, the closing agent that I used, back to my office on Jersey Ridge. So
yeah,
I remember
it's so funny you say that, because I remember exactly where I was standing. I remember the first phone call I had with you, and I wanted to make sure I touched on that in this podcast, because that to me is like a huge reason why I love working here, is because I knew from the very first moment that I had a conversation with you that it made sense to partner up. Because when I was looking to make a transition, I had only experienced this world in the call center environment, right? I had no idea, frankly, what I was getting myself into. But I talked to 2 other companies when I was making the transition, and I knew from the moment that I had a first conversation with you that like it just made sense, right? And when I was making that transition, I was looking for a place where I could be proud to work there, right? Yep. I was amidst this larger institution of Wells Fargo at the time when they were going through one of their biggest situations they've ever been dealt with, as far as the negative backlash of the fake and create accounts and things like that, and
having a huge target on your back.
Yeah,
CFPB.
And here was the thing: is I was known for that, right? Even though I wasn't guilty of executing on that, like that was my reputation when talking with clients, and so I didn't feel like that was fair. And so when I was looking to make a transition, I wanted to make sure I partnered with a group that had a positive reputation, and frankly, let me build a brand that I was proud of. Yep. And that's why it's cool 9 years later, or however long it's been, to see that we've been able to execute on that, right? And we're not the biggest. We haven't reached our maximum potential yet.
Correct.
But again, how cool is it that on the first phone call, little old Brady that had no really idea what the residential mortgage space looked like from a local standpoint was able to discover that in the first phone call with you.
No, I think it's great. And you remember there's a saying that you use all the time now that we've touched on. You remember what that was?
Yeah, I said it at the start of the podcast. Did you notice that?
I did. Why don't you say it again?
Reiterating, building quality relationships with quality people and growing together. Yep. And that's, it's been the way that I've built my business. It's been the way that I've branded this podcast. Because again, the reach behind the podcast is to help other business owners and small individuals that are, looking to share their value, give them a platform, right? And I've made the decision very early on with the way that I've started this is I'm not trying to be the biggest. I'm not trying to be the best. I want to partner with good people, and I want to do things the right way. And that's, hopefully that grows, right? Obviously we want to help as many people as we can.
But it's a similar your background was very similar from where I came from. Yeah. So it's like, when I knew that when I could do it, because I've done it, it's like I saw the same thing in you that I saw in myself. Yeah. And for me, when I get somebody again that trusts me enough to come work with me, it is my obligation to do everything I can to make sure it works. Yep. And I feel it's not like, hey, they come over here, it's 100% on them. If it doesn't work out, I genuinely care. And that's probably something that is a downside from a standpoint for trying to grow. Yeah. Is I genuinely care. Right. It's my obligation to make sure I can do everything I can so you can build a successful business, be happy, be proud of what you're doing, and have a high quality of life.
For sure. And I think one of the unique things from a recruiting standpoint, when you're looking at different loan officers and stuff, I think it's really easy for people to chase checks and chase guaranteed money and things like that, or chase maybe a place promises you leads, et cetera, like that. That's not really something I'm looking for, right? And I would encourage other people that are listening to this, if applicable, to not look for that either, right? You look more for the leadership on how somebody can coach you to generate your own leads, right?
Yeah, and also just a good role to lead. 95% of things you hear from recruiters is bullshit.
That's also true.
Let's be honest. Yeah. Pardon the language, but they tell you what you want to hear at that time period to get you over here. And most of them are okay with, hey, we'll bring on 15 people hoping that 5 stay. Mm-hmm. To me, I don't want that. Like, it takes a lot of time to get somebody to come over, right? And a lot of training. And also, I don't want to make somebody's life worse. I want to make somebody's life better. So if somebody comes over here and it doesn't work, listen, and it has happened. I feel horrible because I want it to work. Right. It's just a different mindset. And unfortunately, in our industry, there's still a lot of BS in the recruiting. For sure. Lack of transparency.
And it's not always going to be the right fit, like you said. It's not. It's trial and error kind of situation. But I think it's just so easy, especially amidst a down market when we've been battling for 18 months to try to make ends meet for our families and stuff like that. Like, it's really easy to have days where it's like, maybe I'm not at the right spot, or maybe I wish I worked for somebody who would offer more leads, etc. But the thing that's always so encouraging to me to have a conversation with our group, everyone that works here, you extended, is that, again, we're not necessarily focused on, hey, I'm going to buy you a bunch of leads, or I'm going to give you a bunch of at-bats with my clients. It's really, I'm going to give you the tools, resources, knowledge to help execute on your own, right? And like figure out ways that you can generate your own business. And that for me is far more valuable to have somebody holding me accountable to execute on the little things to be motivated to continue to film this podcast and do these other things that are going to be able to help me generate business organically rather than simply just handing me a cold lead. So
teach somebody to fish and create their own business that they're going to be proud of.
Exactly.
Instead of, again, the lead thing. And there's a time and a place for that, but that is something that has to continue to happen, and you really can't build upon it.
Yep,
So
for sure. All right. So we've kind of gotten a story onto how we've gotten to here, what's kind of started. Talk about what drives you as far as what keeps you committed to the industry. Why do you find this fulfilling? What's kind of what scratches your itch, if that makes sense?
I mean, I got to start with first what drives me. So what motivates me and drives me, and there's levels here. And the first and foremost, this is going to sound a little bit cheesy, but it's 100% genuine. My wife and kids are the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So whenever there's something that I don't really want to do or is hard to do, I can't look them in the face and tell them that I want to raise them a certain way and that they should be disciplined and do the right thing and not do it myself. So that is extremely motivating. And then honestly, it's all people. So it goes from that and then the people that I work with, right? Mm-hmm. So the motivation is to make sure that I'm executing for all the people that have trusted me enough to go on this battle together and on this journey and continue to be better for everybody. So to make sure that we can support the people that are here and that I'm leading by example to try to make you guys be as successful as you possibly can. So that's the motivation. And that's also the fulfillment, to be honest with you. And to be 100% transparent, I don't know if it's mortgages that I'm passionate about, but I love mortgages and it's a great industry that you make a very, very good living.
Right.
But I think if this was the same thing, but I got into being a financial advisor or an insurance agent, I think I'd have the same level of passion, because I think the passion is working with people, creating a process that people really, really love, something that you're proud of, and creating a referral business. Because I genuinely, the core of a lot of it is just that I'm a people pleaser and I like people and I want to do well for them. Customers, referral partners, and my employees. So that's really what it is. It's the people. It's not, again, that's
it's not the process or the product, right?
Listen, no one wants a mortgage. That's why we called it key. That's why we focus more on the key, because people want the key to the house.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us, most people can't afford to pay cash for a home. So what they want is the house. And what we want to give them is the house and the memory and the financial investment that is so good for people. The mortgage is something that most people have to get in order to get the thing that they want to.
Yeah. That's so good. I think that it's so much easier to be passionate about those relationships and the people that you interact with. Like you said, nobody's going to get excited about a loan that you're going to pay a bunch of interest on.
Correct.
But I think that's why I think from a collective, especially from our whole group, is I think people are starting to notice the joy that we have from what we do as well. Yeah. So I had a prime example. I had an opportunity to speak at a breakfast club this morning, actually, and one of my good friends had invited me to speak to the class or the group or however you want to call it. But he made a point to stop me in the middle of my presentation and say, hey, if you guys haven't, check out Brady and his team on social media because it's really good stuff. Right. And so my point behind that is people are seeing the joy we have, and I can't joyfully do this podcast or joyfully do any of our social media content for that matter if it's just about home loans. It's again, we do that stuff because we enjoy the interactions, the people we get to work with, and frankly, being a resource, right? Having the knowledge on how to execute it and put the puzzle pieces together for people to help them achieve their dreams, right?
And no different than I think the people that really strive for greatness or try to become great, and I think most people that get there, they never feel like they're actually there.
Yeah.
But for me, monetary part is part of it, right? But it is definitely not the driving factor for me.
Yeah.
It's not even in the top three. You have to have money to pay your bills and support your family, but you have to find a greater calling that really pushes you to do the things, again, that you don't want to do, but you need to do to become the person that you really want to be or to get your full potential. Yeah. So becoming more disciplined as I get older, it's really using those motivations that I talked about, and also this calling that I feel like where I really am comfortable with who I am and the person that I'm supposed to be and the impact that I'm going to have on this world. It's much bigger than a job or a paycheck. Correct. Yeah. It is the people that we can impact, the families that we can impact.
Yeah.
Both customers, coworkers, partners, right? I mean, multiple businesses that we interact with that I truly feel like we have a positive impact on their income, and then how many people that can lead and flood into. So if we help a realtor or a builder succeed more because of our execution,
right,
they can grow, they can hire people, they can provide bonuses. Like that's the thing that's really cool. Like you said, doing it with great people.
When I remember early on, when I was still trying to figure all this stuff out, I remember you told me one thing. It's like, you can't chase, whether it's a paycheck or a production goal, whether it's units or volumes or anything like that, because once you start achieving those goals, then you're just not content, right? Like it's, you kind of adjust your expectations almost. Yep. And I remember you told me like, you never, you always thought like, hey, this was a perfect number. And then once you got there, you're like, well, now what? Now I want more. Right. Yep. And so it's not fulfilling when you achieve those goals, whether it is, again, the money in your bank account or the amount of families you help or the amount of loan volume you close. What's really, really, big is those reviews you get and the referrals from those people that you execute for and everything like that. That's where I would say that our group is more fulfilled. And the reviews obviously are there for you and your group, right? Like I don't know the count or if you check regularly, but
607. Yeah, we check.
He doesn't check.
Listen, that's the most important thing for me.
But that's been such an integral part in the way that you grow. And I think that even probably in the last year and a half, 2 years, you've actually put even more of an emphasis on that piece. Is like
it's picked up steam. For sure. And again, that's because everything that I've done, and I'm proud of what I've accomplished. Listen, it hasn't been quick. It's been 21 years. And how many times I tell you guys that, listen, it's easier for me because I've already made this mistake 10 times.
Yep.
I'm not better than anybody that I work with at all. It's simply that I've had more time to make mistakes. I just refuse to give up, and I constantly try to get better. And over 21 years, if you keep trying and using your failures to learn, I don't think you can help but be successful as long as you have that drive there and the willingness
to adapt.
Correct. Right? Absolutely.
Because that's the big thing is the markets are always changing and, and that's not just from a rate perspective. It's just how the business is generated, how you, interact with people.
Legalities.
Guidelines. There's all sorts of changes. And so you have to be able to.
And that will continue.
Change and adapt. Yep. So, no, that's great. Is there anything specific when you think about the Key Mortgage Group brand, who we are, what we're about, is there anything specific that you would want to drive home to people that what makes us truly different, or maybe things that we execute on that you really want people to know us by or be proud of?
Listen, I think we put people first. That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
It is, from a leadership standpoint, we put our employees first, right? Okay. Realizing, because if you want to create anything great, it is the sum of the parts is what makes it up. So if you take the people out of Key Mortgage Group is absolutely nothing.
Yep.
So the whole support is behind the people and helping the people find the full potential of themselves. And sometimes that's with support. Sometimes that's with tough love and accountability. It's kind of a combination of everything together.
Sure.
But I really think that is what different is that we truly focus on the person. It's kind of a family more than it is a company. There's genuine care for the people there.
Yeah. And
we're looking out for the greater good of making sure that we can continue this path as long as we possibly can. It's not about a bottom dollar. I'm not answering to a board. We make decisions on the best that we can based on what we think is best for all the individuals that are, that have trusted us to be part of this.
How about from a client or a real estate agent standpoint? When you think of like the interaction that a client or an agent receives from our group, whether it's anybody in Des Moines, anybody in your team, what's one thing you would hope that they recognize?
No one cares more than we do. That I can tell you without any question whatsoever. There's probably people that are smarter. There may be people that even have better knowledge of guidelines and things like that. I can outwork somebody in that situation.
Yep.
Nobody cares more than we do. And that, I believe, is the backbone behind everything that we do.
Yeah.
That is why I returned emails at 10:45 last night. That is why I made a phone call at 7:15 yesterday morning because a customer had a question for me.
Yep.
It's because I care. I truly care for people, customers, agents, and I want them to succeed. And that is the motivation. Again, I say this over and over again. That's what pushes you to do the things that are not easy to do that most people don't do. Because if you want to become great, you have to be willing to do things that most people are not willing to do. And those things are not easy because if they were easy, everybody would do it.
Sure.
And if you don't have that greater good, it's not going to be there. Another thing that I think is extremely cool, and this is, again, 100% confidence level with this. The multiple conversations that I've had with you or other people at Key Mortgage, and we're talking about, hey, I need this favor to rush a closing, or hey, this came up, but I still want to execute on time for my customer. I have yet one time to hear, hey, John, I need you to get this deal closed because I want to make sure that I get paid.
Yeah.
There's been multiple times that I've heard, listen, I don't care if I get paid. I just want to do what's right by this customer and this agent. And that's what we're about.
Yeah.
And again, selfishly, I think that is what's allowed us, or that's what's allowed us to grow, is because we have that mindset. So again, and I think that's the way you get to success. And even if that means a short term, doing the right thing for people, even if that short term loses you money or isn't profitable, doing the right thing is always what we're going to do.
Yep.
So
I love it. All right. I want to kind of transition into what some may say is probably the hottest topic in real estate right now. And I don't want to put you on the spot. And obviously there's a lot of nuances that are yet to come out, but I'd love to hear your opinion or initial thoughts on this NAR settlement situation, kind of what your, expectations on what things could change, what your advice would be to both mortgage lenders and real estate agents on how to navigate this, how to set expectations, just kind of touch on that from a high level service, or if you want to dive deep, feel free. But I think that it's valuable to hear somebody like you who is so relationship based and frankly has 21, 22 years of experience, what you would do.
Getting closer to 22 now, aren't we?
Or more than that, I was thinking, but
maybe I don't want to change that number.
But my point behind that is, like, you've been through changes, adapted. Frankly, you worked through the '08 crisis, which is a little bit different, right?
Dodd-Frank.
You still have to be willing and able to adapt to these things. And so I'd love to hear you give these real estate agents that are listening the advice on what you would do if you were in their shoes.
Okay. First thing I want to start with is, if you think your customers know about this, you're wrong. Like, it's a big deal to everybody in the industry, to realtors and lenders. I don't think most of the consumers know about it. So if you're coming into this and you're meeting with a customer and you think that they know about it, or you have this big issue, they probably don't even know what's going on. So from a consumer standpoint, I would almost pretend that nothing has happened. Now, do I think it's going to have an impact? I do. And I think that this is part of evolution. This is part of things ever changing. Our industry has gone through so many changes. Again, the 08-09 crash, Dodd-Frank, GFE 2010, the 3-day right of rescission thing. The people, and when I look back, the people that complain about how things used to be and look backwards get passed by the people that adapt and figure out how to win today, because tomorrow's not coming back. So I remember my first couple of years in the industry, that's back when there was stated income, stated asset. And luckily for me, complete naiveness was extremely beneficial. I got into the industry, left Wells Fargo Financial, and got into the mortgage industry right as the industry was blowing up. And some people think, well, that's really bad timing. I think it was great timing, because I remember the first couple of years, everybody's walking around like, can you believe that we have to verify people's income and their assets to get a loan approved? I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Like, I never had those products. So therefore, I didn't have that excuse. And there was literally people that could never adapt. And that created an opportunity for me to put my head down and work and focus on the things that we really should be focusing on. And I picked up their market share. So I think this will have an impact, obviously. I don't think it's going to be as big as what people think. And I think that, what it will do is, I think the really, really good agents that provide a value for their clients, it's going to change the transparency in the way that we do things, but I actually think it's going to help their business. Transparency is never a bad thing. And the agents that do a really, really good job, they provide value for their clients. So they're not going to have a hard time showing them from a dollars and cents standpoint the value that they provide. The good agents that I work with that have, we've always had the for sale by owner thing. I've had multiple of my strong realtor partners that have customers that will not buy a house without them. Whether they have to pay the 3% or the 3.5% or the 2.5% themselves, they don't care. They trust those people because they provide a value.
Right.
If you provide a value, you're not going to have any issues, and you adapt and move forward. And what I think it's going to do is, it's probably going to wean out some of the people that don't provide a value.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for the consumer. I think it's a good thing for the industry. And I think it's part of the evolution. So that's kind of what I see happening.
I think one of the big examples I was thinking about as I've been brainstorming over the last couple of months with all this coming up, I think that the two things that I think that you hit exactly on the head is how I believed is that number one is it's going to make people more transparent. So it's going to make it very clear on what the costs are, why they, have to pay what they do. And then, like you said, the value piece is the big point. An example that I thought about is like, I'm just thinking in my situation, imagine if somebody came to me and said, hey, how much do you cost and why should I pay you that? Right. And if I was tasked from my client standpoint, and this can be mortgage, it can be to buy a car, it can be any cost, right? Anytime you buy something, you want to know why you're paying what you're paying.
Yep.
And if you are asked that question, and let's say, for instance, your cost is $12.95, like our flat fee origination fee is, you want to be able to have backbone and explain why you are worth that cost, right? Yep. And know how to explain the things that you bring to the table. And I think what this should open an eye for is if people are asked from a real estate agent perspective why they should pay them X amount of dollars, whatever their cost is, you got to be able to show that value, right? And show the little things that you do to make it worth paying what they cost, regardless of whether it's 3%, 4%, 1%, flat fee, whatever it is. If you don't justify the cost that the client is paying, the client's probably not going to pay it. Right?
Yeah, you said the key word is you have to show value.
Yeah.
Right? We can't talk about value no different than you can't. And I say this all the time to customers. I'm not going to ask for your trust. I'm going to earn your trust.
Yeah.
So you show them value. And again, the agents that are good, they've already shown the value to their client base.
Right.
This is going to be something that I think we're going to look back on in 18 months, 24 months, and it's going to be a non-issue. No different than Dodd-Frank, no different than GFE 2010.
Yep.
It is what it is. Even the 3-day right of rescission, or not the 3-day right of rescission, the most recent change in 2016, TRID.
Yeah.
People talked about that for 2 years about how we're not going to be able to function. It's going to be this huge.
We're not going to get
changer.
CDs out in time.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is a non-issue. We've
Right.
adapted to it. And actually that most recent one, that's probably the only, like, I really believed in that. So
Yeah.
you're telling me we should be transparent and tell people 3 days before
What it
closing
costs.
what's going
Yeah.
on? Absolutely we should. They should
Yep.
know about that. You shouldn't be making decisions the day you're closing on your loan.
Right.
You should be told early on in the process what your expenses are. There should be 100% transparency. And that's why it didn't bother me. It's like, hey, listen, I do the right thing and I tell people the truth all the time.
Right.
Let's hold everybody else accountable. It makes it easier for me to succeed.
Yeah.
So
And
I think
I even
transparency is great.
I had an instance, honestly, to be completely transparent with everybody, it was probably just 3 or 4 months ago. It's probably been a little bit longer than that I needed to, but even 3 or 4 months ago, I kind of had a self-reflection moment where it's like, okay, if I want to increase my business and help more people, how am I going to earn that, right? And like you said, you have to earn and show that actual value you're doing. And so I kind of did a deep dive into my process and the things that I do to help clients win, and just kind of had a self-reflection. It's like, I think I need to do more. And so the 2 things mainly that I think about that I added was, number 1, the structured buyer's consultation, where we've got the detailed presentation where I'm going through their goals, talking through everything. That's something I really wasn't executing every single time on prior to 6 months ago, to be honest with you. And so that was one thing that I added. The BombBomb videos going over the loan estimate is another example where we're filming a detailed video, making sure we go through that loan estimate line by line to make sure clients know what they're comfortable with. Yep. And those 2 things are just a couple of examples. But again, I think everyone that's faced with challenges, nuances, and things like that, it's healthy to evaluate why people would want to work with you. And if you're not earning the business that you want, it ain't anybody else's fault.
Correct.
Right? Somebody else is doing something right that's earning the business.
Look within.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look at yourself in the mirror.
I think that's a great point with this entire thing is the 2 points that I took away from what you said. Number 1 is, don't bring up a problem that isn't there. So if the problem's not there, you don't necessarily need to address it. However, still make sure you're being transparent and executing on it. But number 2, again, it should be no problem if you know that you're truly executing on the value that your clients deserve.
Yeah. And if you're confident in your abilities, you shouldn't have any issues explaining to it, because again, you've shown your value. And when you talk about the things that we do that are different, and it's not normal, and we don't want to be normal. Again, I think when I talked to you, I was like, hey, we did not have a conversation where I said, hey, Brady, I want you to come here and I want you to be average. Yep. Right? Did we talk about being average? No, we want to be great. So I think that if we're going to give somebody, if we think we can just forward somebody a loan estimate and think that they're going to show up the day of closing and know what's going on and not be surprised, I think it's ridiculous. I think it is our job as professionals to point out all the options that are there for customers, explain the closing costs, the prepaids, the cash to close, everything. Yeah. So if there's any uncertainty, my line that I say to my referral partners and my customers is, listen, if there's an issue, I want you to know about it on day 3, not 30 minutes before closing. And that's why there's 100% transparency, no surprises, because that's how you create a great process. You can't have a great process if you don't have clear expectations.
Right. Exactly. And they just, they deserve that, right? And
absolutely.
With the videos, they've got the ability to go back to it, and there's never really any doubt. So I think that's 2 great points. I think that we'll be fine. And the other thing that I think is interesting, people are always, and by people, I mostly mean real estate agents, they're kind of nervous right now about what if my conditions get cut, right? And then maybe I'm not making enough per loan. One thing that, first and foremost, I don't think that's going to happen. If you can,
per home sale?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I do think it's going to happen.
And if it does,
I think
here's the point that
percentage of a real estate commission will probably go down a little bit. Yeah.
But the one thing that I remember you told us that happened back when they introduced Dodd-Frank is at the end of the day, you can't control how much money you make per loan. What you can control is how many people you help.
Correct.
So if they cut your commission, let's say hypothetically, or maybe you're not worth as much anymore, you can't make as much per transaction, just help more people.
Correct.
It's really that simple.
And it's with technology, it is easier for me to do my job now than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So the percentage that I make can be less because I'm able to help more individuals. So I do see that happening. But again, if we talk about the same thing, it's going to happen at the same time as if we have if we have some people get out of the industry, that leaves a bigger piece of the puzzle for the people that do make it, for the people that really are good at their jobs and provide a value. There's more market share, so there's more families to help, so their income won't go down.
Right.
They're just going to have to figure out a way to help a few more people, which again is not a bad thing whatsoever. That also allows you to create more great experiences, to create more referrals from
bigger
those
impact.
People. Correct.
Yeah, it grows your circle.
Absolutely.
I like it. No, I think that's enough on that topic. I just wanted to make sure we addressed it. I think that, again, you obviously have been well-versed and been around the block a time too.
And I truly believe, and I've always been pro agents. Listen, you go back and look at my social media for the moment I created it and what my tone has been. I believe in quality realtors.
Yes.
And I truly believe in them from a buyer standpoint. And I've always preached that. And I eat my own cooking. So every time I've done a real estate transaction, even if I'm buying a house from a family member, and I have proof, or not a family member, I don't buy from family members, from a close personal friend.
Yeah.
I used a real estate agent on every single transaction, so I'm not going to tell people that I see a value and then not do it myself. I truly see a value in real estate agents and good real estate agents. And they do provide a ton of value for what they do.
Yep.
The ones that don't, that's not an issue with the industry. That's an issue with that individual. No different than our industry. There's a lot of loan officers that I think do not provide any value for the commission that they earn on the deals that they close. I think there's some that provide a ton of value. And normally what we see is those people succeed and the people that aren't providing a value don't. Again, that's not an issue with either one of the industries. It's an issue with those individuals and how they're doing it.
I love it. Such a good point. All right. We've got a couple other questions structured. Is there anything, I guess, specifically that you would love to share with people, whether it's a client experience, a real estate agent experience, anything that stands out to you that's like, this was really something that I think that people should know about?
No, because I've had so many good experiences. I don't want to put one on top of the other. I mean, listen, I work with so many great people, so many great referral partners, so many people that I work with directly, at Key Mortgage Group. And I have so many cool customers. I have endless cool stories to tell. So I think
we'll run out of battery on our cameras.
We will. And it's hard to say which one's the most important because again, I've been doing it for 21 years, but I'm trying to do a better job with social media of sharing those customer wins or customer success stories, because those are the ones that are cool. When you're helping somebody that is discouraged because they have a 560 credit score and you find a way to do a credit simulator and a rapid rescore and get them pre-approved and they can buy a home.
And they never thought they would.
Correct. That's super, and then or working with somebody that, the first time you dealt with them, they're that customer and then they improve. And then 3 years later, they buy a gorgeous brand new construction home and they now have a 760 credit score and they bought a $500,000 house.
How much better is their life now?
Absolutely. And that you've been part of that process the entire time.
So cool.
And the relationship you have with those people. And fortunate for me is I have just multiple examples of that. So I don't really have one that sticks out more than the other.
All right. So let's go this route then. If you were talking to a prospective home buyer, which obviously you do multiple times a day, what's one tip of advice based on the current market, both from an interest rate and a inventory / real estate perspective? What's one tip of advice that you would give people that you think could help them achieve their dreams and make homeownership a reality in today's market?
So I think regardless of whatever market challenge or market, because I think there's mistakes you can make when the market's really, really good, just as bad as when you can make when the market is not as good. So I think there's probably more mistakes made in 2020 and 2021 when money was free because of the pressure people were put in. So I think you have to be real with the situation that you're in. You need to work with a team that you trust. And that team, again, in my opinion, is a buyer's agent. I think is truly important. A lender that you know that is looking out for your best interest is extremely important. And have them educate you in the process, right?
Yeah.
I don't, again, and I say educate yourself. It's hard to educate yourself, right? So that's why when I do buyer's consultations, I'm not only pointing out first-time homebuyer programs, grants, and down payment assistance for people that ask. I'm pointing it out to everybody. And even if they don't qualify, I say, listen, I want to let you know, I looked into this for you, and here's why you don't qualify.
Sure.
I think budget is extremely important.
Yeah.
I think banks, credit unions especially, mortgage companies, I think they lend people too much money. I think there's still a lot of predatory lending. I think the maximum pre-approval is a horrible game to play.
Yep.
So don't call somebody and say, hey, what's the max that I'm pre-approved for? Because if you call me, I'm just going to tell you, listen, I don't play that game.
Right.
We need to look at your monthly budget. We need to find out what type of payment you're comfortable with, and then come up with a price point that we can make sure that you're going to succeed financially long-term. Because overspending and getting into a situation where you can't make your payments, whatever good it is that you get out of having a nicer, bigger home is going to be foreshadowed by the stress.
The risk of the payment.
Or the stress that financial stress, that's a burden.
Yeah.
You're going to fall into where you have to use credit card debts. We are in a position where we hit an all-time high probably 18 months ago, and we are just running away with an all-time high right now with credit card debt. Because I think too many people want to keep up with others and play let's keep up with the Joneses versus looking at what is really important to me and what can I afford that can make sure that I can succeed long term. Also making sure that you're making the right decision to buy a house. I mean, I truly believe in real estate. I think it's one of the best long-term investments and safest things you can do long-term, but everybody shouldn't buy a home. So if you're not confident with your income or where you're going to be for a certain time period, let's say the next 3 years, listen, renting might be better for you. So have those conversations. And if you're not working with somebody that you trust, I think that's an issue, because a trusted agent and a trusted lender, they're not looking out for just closing a deal and getting paid. They're looking out for your best interest. And there's sometimes no is the right answer. And that's something that we didn't do in the industry as a whole. There was too many yeses given over the last 10 years, and we're going to deal with some of that. 100% financing, stretching people too far, saying yes to get the deal done short term.
Just because you can.
Correct. It creates issues that I think we should have avoided.
Yep. Big takeaway I see there, and I think that's super cool to hear it come back up again, because I've mentioned it in multiple other episodes with other guests I've had, but it all comes back to their goals, right? What are your goals financially when you're looking to buy a house, both from a monthly payment, a cash to close, and overall financing? We're reviewing that entire picture to determine what are your goals financially and frankly from a family standpoint too. And just making sure that we all as a team have a clear understanding of what you're looking to accomplish, and don't max it out, right? And understand those goals and help you achieve those accordingly. Listen, if we can make it a reality, get you into a home, by all means, we'd love to help you be a part of that, right? But we're going to also be transparent and say, hey, just because you're approved for that doesn't mean you should move forward with it. So I think that's always going to be our approach, and that's definitely the best advice I'll give to a prospective home buyer.
Rewind for a second, because something I definitely should have said is reach out to somebody that you trust. And if you don't have anybody in the industry that you know or trust, find somebody in your sphere of influence, a coworker, a family member. Find out somebody that they use that they really liked, and start with that person. The internet's fantastic, but everything that I do is on recommendations, right? Whether it's somebody that's going to do landscaping for me, the projects I've done at my house. So again, if you know somebody that you trust in the industry, start with them. And if you don't, go to somebody that you trust, that has somebody that they trust, and you're probably going to end up with somebody that does a very good job. And also maybe do a little bit of homework on them, right? So check them out online, see what their customers have to say.
If you don't have a sphere that has connections or whatever, like you said, check them out online, check those reviews, check their socials. Like, are they posting this stuff? Are they getting the experience from other clients that prove their value and their worth?
Correct.
So I think that's such a great tip. This has been incredible. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to sound incredibly cheesy when I say this, but I have to say thank you for not only coming to film this podcast and be a resource for this 43, I guess, minute episode, but also just thank you for your guidance and your leadership over the last 9 years. It's been a joy to fight this battle, I'm going to call it. Through the highs and the lows, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And I'm just grateful to have people like you in my corner that are pushing me to be better every day. And I'm thankful for your knowledge and guidance.
Listen, the think, and I would turn it right back that, and I've told you guys this on our Monday Zoom calls. You guys provide as much value, if not more value for me than I provide for you guys. Because again, outside of my family, which I was very clear, that's the number one motivation. And I think I told you guys this. I think I used the story when I was up at my daughter's volleyball tournament in the Wisconsin Dells, and I had my daily birthday phone calls to make where I call every customer on their birthday.
Yep. It
was a loud gym. I had to go outside. I had every reason not to make those phone calls. If you wanted to have a reason for an excuse, I had an acceptable one. Yep. But I was literally, reflecting. I said, you know what? I can't ask these guys to do this stuff and not be willing to do it myself.
Yeah.
I refuse, to not be genuine. I'm not going to be an imposter. So you guys motivating me to continue to make me be a better leader also allows me to be better at my job, because again, it's that motivation that pushes me through the uncomfortable things that make me do that. Right. So I want to thank you guys, because it's really easy to lead when you're leading great people. Yeah. So we have to have each other, because if I didn't have the right people to lead, I wouldn't have the passion to do what I'm doing. So again, I would say thank you to all of you guys.
Yeah, no, it's been a great journey, and we thank everybody for trusting us, both our partners, our clients, all the viewers, listeners. It's been a great, we're going to call it 9 years, but who actually knows how long it's been. And we're excited for many, many years to come. Thank you for continuing to trust us. John, I always leave my episodes with this. And I don't know if you looked at the last question on the sheet or not, but I need you to tell me, where's your favorite wings you've ever had?
I did look at that, and that's a hard one. Probably Wise Guys, because I have a wheat intolerance, so the breading thing can't work for me. But why? And they're not even.
Is this a Davenport spot?
It's a Davenport spot. Yeah, Wise Guys Pizza. They have like an actual chicken. They kind of. And man, all the wing people are going to hate me because it's actually a boneless wing. But
that's not a wing.
Well, then I need to have I don't have an answer. That's horrible.
I need to show you some good spots then.
Then I think
because I know a lot of wings that you can get them with no breading.
Yeah.
Personally, if you're eating a wing that's breaded, that's not a wing either, in my opinion.
Well, that's good, because I can't have those.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the blank, man.
You're good.
I don't have it.
No, it's been a fun little kind of finishing touch that I've always had with people. And
I was going to joke around and say Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, well, then the podcast wouldn't be posted if you said that. But no, it's kind of my favorite hobby is finding different wing spots and stuff. So enjoy sharing that with the viewers. And just want to thank everybody for listening. Appreciate you tuning in for this long, and look forward to the next episode. John, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
We'll see you guys.